late, but we're going to start now. Vamos a empezar aquí. Y buenas tardes, buenas noches. No sé. I don't know which we're going to use because our sun is kind of almost going down. I guess we can use buenas noches. Y me encantó la lluvia de ayer. Wow, I really loved that rain from yesterday. I hope it rained where you were too, because man, we need it. It has been bad. So, okay. Well, actually, we had a good monsoon season, but yeah, before that, we had a really long stretch. ¿Qué vamos a hacer? ¿Qué vamos a hacer? Hoy vamos a combinar varias cosas. We're going to combine a few different things. We are going to start with our souvenir things. So if you need a minute to grab the souvenir, as Juanita jogged my memory because I was dealing with plumbing issues. Oh joy! I forgot to get my prop. So I'll give you a minute to go get your prop if you got that. We're going to begin with our leftover, something where we can use with me recuerda a, and I want you to notice this because it's going to tie in mysteriously yet logically with this issue of using quedar in just a little bit. Me recuerda a is not me recuerdo. It is not. The me doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get a yo verb after it. And there are tons and tons and tons of verbs that do that in Spanish. So it is me acuerda. Me, it reminds. Me, this thing reminds. Therefore, it cannot be recuerdo, a yo form. It's got to be recuerda. And it, a onesie thing form, unless you've got two things, you know, if you had two little wooden shoes and they reminded you of a trip to Holland, then that would be, you know, me recuerdan. So for this thing to say that something reminds you, the thing that reminds you is probably a thing. We can use it for a person. If you're talking to your friend Anita, por ejemplo, Anita, me recuerdas a tu mamá. Oh, Anita, you remind me of your mom, meaning you look like your mom a lot. You remind me of her because you look so much like her. So then it would be me recuerdas, you remind, recuerdas. But for tonight, you're probably going to be talking about a thing. Bien? So it's probably going to be just generically recuerda if it is a singular thing. So by this time that I've gone on, and you're going to see that this happens with quedar later on quite a bit when we practice that. So the two things you're going to want to have handy right now are some sort of thingy, if you have it, or if you have a picture of it, you will have the ability to share. If you look at the share button on the bottom of your screen, if you look for that, that will be something you will be able to do as well. And the second thing you will probably want to have, and I will pull this up so you can see it, donde está aquí, will be these prompts, which you are going to use later on quedar. So these prompts that I had sent out to you in the email from last week that were, things that jog your mind that say, okay, I would like you to talk about these things. So if you have that printed out, go check it out. If you saved it on your computer, you'll probably want to pull that up as a separate file on your computer. Whichever you are comfortable with doing is just fine. Todo está bien. It's all good. Excelente. So we're going to start with un recuerdo, souvenir, something that reminds you of something or a place, probably. We're going to proceed over into your questions about quedar because you probably have questions. That will be normal. We're going to kind of step through that first. And then you'll go into some practice with quedar. I hope we have a little time for destinos left over. Bien, ok. Bueno, voy a empezar con mi ejemplo. I'm going to start with my example. Este es un plato, es un plato muy lindo, un plato muy lindo. Este plato me acuerda a Sevilla en España. Este plato me recuerda a Sevilla en España porque estos platos pintados de colores muy vivos son recuerdos muy típicos de España. Entonces, es un plato que me recuerda a Andalucía, la región en el sur de España, ¿sí? En el sur, no en el sur de Norteamérica como Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, sur, no. El sur de España, ¿sí? Bien, excelente. ¿Cuáles son sus cosas? What are your things? You can share on screen, or if you can share by sharing the screen. Juanita, ¿quieres empezar?
Sí. El camello azul.
Oh,
Pequeño y muy bonito. El camello azul me recuerda a viaje en el desierto Sahara en Morocco. Los pueblos indígenas. Los pueblos indígenas se llama Berber hacia los camellos. Muy creativo.
Bueno, Juanita, ¿es un camello de cerámica? ¿O
no, fabric.
Oh, de tela. De tela.
Muchas cosas.
Sí, adornos muy pequeños.
Fabric.
No, fábrica es factory.
No,
la palabra que quieres tú es tela. Tela.
Tela y yarn. And buttons, sí. Little buttons. Botones. Sí, no caro.
Pues no,
sí,
bien,
sí.
Ok.
Yes.
Vale, magnífico. Es muy bonito.
Sí, me gusta mucho, muy especial. La niña, what's the word? La niña seguramente hacía el camelo. La niña. Una niña 20 años.
O de 20 años. Una joven. Una joven. Sí, cuando hablamos de una persona, niña es, ¿qué es? 5 años, alguien de 5 años, 8 años, 7, 8 años. Chico, un poquito más grande, ¿sí? Adolescente, teenager.
Sí.
Una joven, a young woman, una joven.
Sí.
Una joven. Bueno, y el camello está hecho de tela e hilo, yarn.
Hilo.
Adornos.
Sí.
Adornos bonitos, ¿no?
Sí,
little ornamental thing. Es muy lindo, gracias. Y de Marruecos.
Sí.
Los tribus de los Berberos, that Berber tribe is very famous. There were many Berbers who came through Spain and stayed. Se quedaron. They stayed for a long time.
Sí.
Like 700 years.
Yeah. Sí.
700 años. Okay, so
Sí.
all those things, all those little artesanías son handicraft items. Sí, es también artesanía, pero es artesanía de cerámica, sí. Y están interconectados. They're all interconnected because all of that handicraft and artisanship work, a lot of it was shared in from the Arabic tribes that came up and stayed in Spain for quite some time, which in turn affected a lot of Latin American things and then all of the indigenous things from their region that came up as well. Muy bien. Vale. ¿Quién es la próxima persona? Who's the next person who wants to share something here? Bien. A ver. Okay. Let's start with Susan next. Susan, you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Este es un plato de sal de África.
Oh, de sal.
Rinoceronte. Después de un largo día de safari, la cena se sirvió alrededor de un fuego bajo las estrellas. El elegante tazón de sal lleno de sal negra.
¿Sal negra?
Sí, negra.
Negra black salt.
Se nos pasó a cada uno de nosotros. Una novedad inesperada en la naturaleza. El recuerdo de nuestras hermosas noches. The end.
Bien. Yo no sabía que existía sal negra.
Sí, no sé, but didn't know, and there it is.
¿Sabe distinto? ¿Sabe? Does
Sí.
it taste? ¿Sabe distinto? Does
Um,
black salt taste different? Sí.
Poquito, just
poquito.
a little differently.
Un poquito. Un poquito. Bien. Me gusta. ¿Y es de plata? Is that made out of silver?
Sí,
Es de plata.
sí. And glass
Y
with a little
vidrio.
spoon.
Vidrio con una cucharita. Una cucharita. Cucharita. Cuchara spoons, pero cucharita. A teeny
Cucharita.
tiny spoon.
Cucharita.
Sí.
Very classy.
Sí.
Oops.
Me gusta mucho. Gracias. Excelente. Bueno, Karen, ¿quieres continuar?
Esta abanico me recuerda a nuestros viajes de España en 2018. Yo le compró en Sevilla. Can you see it? It's kind of fading away. En el Plaza de España. En ese viaje nos conocimos a Mickey y Alex, que viven en Scottsdale también, y no muy lejos de nosotros. Además, Mickey es voluntaria en el Jardín Botánico del Desierto, como yo. ¡Qué casualidad!
¡Qué casualidad! What a coincidence! ¡Qué casualidad!
La abanico está pintado, es diferente en la otra lado.
Al revés, on the back.
Yeah.
Al revés. Al revés, on the back.
Al
revés.
Al revés, okay.
Muy bien, me gusta mucho. Bueno, hay otra cosa, otro recuerdo, algo que... bueno, sí, Susana.
Es, sí. Hipopótamo. Me recuerda a mi viaje a Sudáfrica. África. Mi esposo y yo fuimos de safari fotográfico en el Parque Nacional Kruger. Veíamos los cebras, jirafas, leopardos, monos, rinocerontes y más. Fue una aventura única en la vida, which I was trying to say was a once in a lifetime adventure.
Sí, una aventura única, una aventura, sí, única, inolvidable. Many times people like to use inolvidable, unforgettable, which always kind of conveys that, once in a lifetime, see?
Sí,
Una vez en la vida, one time in your life.
una vez. Sí,
Eso es. Muy bien.
Ujú.
Excelente. ¿Y de qué material es?
Wood, madera y I looked this up, azulejos, tiles, ceramic.
Azulejos, sí, sí, azulejos.
So it's heavy.
Pesa,
It's
pesa
wood on the
mucho.
inside, see, and on the outside are tiles. They were crazy.
Es- So a tile that you put like on a wall
Uh-huh.
as a decorative thing is an azulejo.
Oh, okay.
Azulejo is right. That's the word you used.
Oh, okay.
Azulejos are not the tiles that you walk on, like a flooring tile,
Oh, okay.
but tiles that are put up on a wall for background or to decorate things like
Mhm,
you have
mhm.
are called azulejos. It sounds like azul, blue,
Mhm.
azulejos. Now the word for far away is lejos. I don't know if
Right.
those are connected somehow by etymology or not. Probably not, but they sound like the azulejos, I would imagine. I bet that came from an Arabic. I'll have to see if I can find that out. Okay, vale, magnífico. Qué precioso. Okay, hay otra cosa. Any other items anybody wants to share? Uno, dos, tres. Marlene next, and then we'll take you, Kathleen.
Este florero azul me recuerda a mis viajes a Italia y la isla de Murano.
Me gusta el color muchísimo. Y hay variedades del color azul. Azul claro, azul oscuro.
Sí.
Los dos. Excelente. Un florero. Un florero es un envase, it's a container, es un envase que se usa para meter flores.
Okay.
Flores, ¿sí? Para meter flores. Entonces se dice que es un florero. Florero.
Florero.
A vase. Sí, se dice en inglés vase, pero flower vase, ¿sí? Así es. Muy bien, me gusta muchísimo. Excelente. Bueno, Kathleen, ¿tienes algo?
Hola.
Las dos. I got two. So,
sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
está bien.
Está bien.
Vamos.
One of you start.
Okay.
Bien,
Ah,
sí, tú.
Esta cosa me recuerda a mi vieja a Teotihuacan en el año 2019. Está cerca de Ciudad de México. Esta ciudad era construida por los aztecas en el año 200. Tiene dos grandes pirámides, una para el sol y otra para la luna. Este jaguar me recuerda a los hombres que vendían los recuerdos cerca de las pirámides. Hacían sonidos como un jaguar para atraer turistas. Así.
Muy mágico. ¡Oh! Me encanta, me encanta, me encanta. Ok, y se pronuncia jaguar.
Jaguar.
Jaguar, jaguar. Y bueno, la idea del jaguar para los indígenas, para la gente indígena de Latinoamérica, es un animal muy poderoso, muy fuerte, muy misterioso. Es muy común usar el jaguar. It is very common to use a jaguar as a symbol in indigenous art. Muy popular, muy popular. Y el barrio o la ciudad es muy difícil pronunciar. Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan. That old thing that actually Mexico City was really built upon, technically, although pirámides, pyramids, ¿sí? La pirámide del sol, la pirámide de la luna, those are the two big pyramids, yeah, as you know, because you have been there. They were originally built and preserved there. So Ciudad de Mexico is not right on top of that, but it is very much nearby. And but you know, it's a Nahuatl word. Nahuatl es la antigua lengua en México antes de que llegaron los españoles, before the Spaniards came. This Nahuatl language was what was spoken. And Tenochtitlan is a mouthful, isn't it?
Sí, sí.
Tenochtitlan, and it's got lots of consonants combined, that because it's not Spanish. So, you know, even for me, it costs me a bit to do the Tenochtitlan, the native pronunciations, but es un lugar muy misterioso, Tenochtitlan, ¿no? Es un lugar muy misterioso, ¿no crees?
Sí, sí. Es muy grande y muy estupendo.
Estupendo, es buena palabra, sí, estupendo. Estupendo. Excelente, me gusta mucho. Ok. Y este paper maché, sí, papel, la figura del jaguar, pues de piedra. Is that made out of stone?
No, it's plastic.
Oh, es plástico.
It's very cheap, but it's very
Hace un
memorable.
sonido. Wow, ok. Esto me gusta muchísimo, me encanta. Ok, gracias, gracias. Bueno, y la otra Catalina, our other Kathleen. We have so many Kathleens, and Cathys. Yes, sí, bien. Una foto.
Esa foto me recuerda a mis perros. El nombre del moreno es Bagel y el blanco es Heber. Eran beagles y buenos amigos. A ellas le gustaba caminar y explorar. Salíamos todos los días. Es todo.
Fantástico. Bien. Las mascotas. Me encantan las mascotas. Son fantásticas. Muy bien. Bueno, alguien más? Anybody else got a little something? Oh, okay, Patricia, you want to go next? Patricia,
Okay. Can you see these?
up a little higher.
There.
Ah, shells.
Shells.
Oh, okay. Conchas.
Yes. Sí. Estas conchas me recuerdan a mis vacaciones a la isla Sanibel. Sanibel es bien conocido por recoger conchas. La isla tiene forma de media luna, and I don't know if this is the correct usage, but I'd like to say encuentra de este or oeste, que ayuda a traer las conchas a rio. It's a crescent shape and it lies east to west. So the waves bring the shells on shore.
Ah,
And so muchos turistas vienen de todo el mundo para recorrer conchas and disfrutar la isla. El mejor tiempo para recorrer es en María Baja o después de una tormenta. No sé los nombres de las conchas, pero las recorgué porque sus colores o sus formas. So I just picked them up
bien.
because I like the way they look.
Sí, 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 eso es. And we can use this word, recoger, pick up,
Gather.
pero cuidado, yeah, gather. We could also use something like, coleccionar. You could. We can also use to say when you pick stuff up, like off the ground, right? A veces sí, juntar, because you pick things up off. Un poquito de cuidado, a little careful with the recoger, because recoger, that coger word is always the big bad F-bomb. So sometimes, yeah, in Spanish, only when you're in Mexico, en México, sí, así es. So sometimes even the words that have coger in them get a, reaction from people. But recoger is a perfectly good word to talk about when you pick up stuff off of the beach or pick stuff up off of the ground. Okay, bien. A ver, okay. Hay más. Bueno, Mark, dinos algo. Tell us something here. Oh, es una gorra. It's a cap. And you're on mute, Mark, so we can't hear you.
Disculpe.
No, está bien.
Me recuerdo la ciudad de mi nacimiento, St. Louis. Esta es una gorra de béisbol del equipo los St. Louis Cardinals. Cuando viví en St. Louis, yo era un fan de los Cardinals.
Claro.
Y todavía soy un fan. Esta noche los Cardinals juegan los Dodgers en un partido eliminatoria. De hecho, el partido está pasando ahora. Ahora mismo.
Ahora mismo.
Sí,
Ahora
sí.
mismo. Uy.
Espero que los Cardinals ganen el partido y sigue en las eliminatorias.
Muy bien, sí. El equipo de béisbol de St. Louis es un equipo muy popular con mucha gente que no vive en St. Louis,
Sí,
pero
sí.
el equipo es tan popular. El equipo era muy popular hace años y años y años, ¿no? Porque tienen muchos campeonatos. They have a lot of championships.
Ujú. Sí.
¿Sí? Ganaron, they won, ganaron muchos campeonatos tras los años.
6 segundos solo de los Yankees.
Oh, ¿de verdad?
Sí.
Ok.
Sí. Yeah.
Eso es impresionante, muy impresionante. Muy bien. Me gustan las gorras. Yeah, I like those caps. Me gustan esas gorras.
Bueno,
Es buen recuerdo. Me gusta muchísimo. Bueno, Federico, ¿tienes algo? Oh. And unmute time. Because you're.
Well,
There we go. Aquí vamos.
after
Aquí
it's all said-
vamos.
after it's all said and done, maybe you wished I kept it on mute.
Woo!
Anyway,
No.
okay. Cuando veo estos objetos de arte, me recuerda a Nairobi, Kenia. Un viaje con Juanita y nuestros amigos que era magnífico.
Excelente. Y son de madera. They're made out of wood.
Sí,
Sí.
Madera. Ujú.
Sí.
Son de madera, de Nairobi. Son figuras muy exóticas, muy exóticas. Oh, y tiene una falda. It's got a skirt.
Um,
Oh,
Hombre en mujer.
okay. Wow. Muy interesante. Excelente. Sí. Bueno, okay. And I want to point out one thing here because we've heard this quite a lot. These two words are so close together. And I've heard this probably 3 times tonight. So this shows you how easy it is to kind of jumble these two, okay? Because look how close together they are. They start with a V-I and they got a J and yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at these two words. Vale la pena. It's really worth the effort. These words are legitimately so close to each other in pronunciation that those of us who are native English speakers have to work a little harder at distinguishing these two because they don't mean anything close to the same thing, okay? So we've got viaje, el viaje, the trip, meaning a journey. And of course, el viaje has a companion word, viajar. It has a companion verb, viajar. And you can see how viaje is for sure tied into viajar, okay? El viaje, trip, viajar, to travel. Pero también tenemos viejo. Viaje, viejo. Vie. So here's how your mouth looks different when you pronounce these. The trip word is viaje, via. How you form your vowels in Spanish is so crucial because a lot of these words are like these combo words. It's kind of surprising. Many words. I never really thought about it very much until I would say the last 10 years or so, just because to me it was such a natural thing. But I started to think more and more about it. It's because we in English often have so many of these schwa sounds. Schwa meaning that thing, which doesn't really exist in Spanish. And we kind of, it's such a natural sound for us that we push it out into even our Spanish sometimes when we don't mean to. So we have to work a little harder on these kind of words that are very close together, but mean very different things. So we've got, but look at my mouth, viaje, that ah sound, your mouth, it sometimes helps. I know it sounds silly. Look in a mirror when you practice some pronunciation, because your mouth should make a certain shape with these vowels. Ah, it should drop open. Yeah, right? Ah, look at my mouth now. That's the letter E, right? Which they pronounce as E. E. E is almost a smiling sound. E. O. U. So really getting those, really practicing those vowels, it goes back to the basics, but it's a super important thing to do every once in a while, because it's too easy to anglicize or slide some of these pronunciations one into the other. And you can't really let them bleed out. They have to be the letters that they are. Viaje, viejo. And so kind of look at what shape your mouth is making when you practice words that are like that. It will help you. And I actually watched a few videos where one lady was telling the person she was coaching, look at your mouth, look at what you're doing with your mouth. Because we have so many variations of vowel sounds in English, and we let that bleed over into our Spanish. So, and that is a natural thing. It's not a fault that I'm scolding anybody for. It is a thing that we have to fight against because we have to keep these vowels extremely pure in Spanish. Otherwise, you do risk the chance of being misunderstood. And those two words are a real classic pair that are so close in spelling. And it's very easy for us to mispronounce them, but then we turn it into the wrong word. Who knew? ¿Quién sabía, right? And then, so a lot of times I hear people saying viejo, but they don't really mean viejo. They mean viaje. Okay, so look, yeah, a little something to work on. Sí, una pregunta.
Are beber and vivir the same pronunciation except for the vowels? Because drinking and living
Qué
sounds
interesante.
odd
Let
to
me put those up in the chat box too.
I had trouble understanding.
Kind of, yeah. So let's look at that. That's a good comparison to think about when we talk about working on our pronunciation. Those two, the B and the V sound the same, but they sound like the B side of it, not the V for victory. Okay, the letters themselves are called B grande, B chica, or some people call them that. B grande, B chica. B grande is the B, and B chica is, or sometimes they say B como burro. Be like a burro, because everybody knows a burro. Yeah. But bechica usually is this bechica. So yeah, those are going to sound pretty much alike. They're going to be a softer, a non-air producing. Big brave boy, big brave boy, big brave boy, big brave boy. You will feel air going on your hand. Brother, he is one bad guy, right? You feel the B, you feel the puff of air. In Spanish, you shouldn't feel very much of any air coming out. See, vivir, beber, vivir, beber. And the vowels are the difference. So here is the to live verb. So look at my mouth. Vivir, vivir, vivir. Okay. Here comes the sound. Your mouth is slightly more open for the sound. Beber, beber, beber. That sound from the letter English E, but Spanish that sound is considered the resting position for people in Spanish. And what I mean by resting is when people pause because they don't know quite which word they want to say. In English, you might say, well, I don't know what I want to do tomorrow. Do you want to go hang out at the mall or I don't know. That's what we say when we pause. Schwa. That sound doesn't exist in Spanish. Doesn't exist. But that is so natural because in the English language, it is kind of a resting sound. You're resting because you're pausing to think of what's going to come next. Okay. All people speaking have that feeling at times, but the resting sound that comes out of somebody's mouth when they're thinking in Spanish is e. The letter E, E, M, E, ¿a dónde vamos ahora? Never, it's never it's always E. Okay, so another filler word, a word that people say when they're pausing because they can't think of which word they really want to say next is este, and that's related to that sound of E coming out. You'll hear people say which also means this, like este plato. But if somebody just says they're not saying this. Means and that has an e sound doubled, right? So they are resting sounds in Spanish, but they don't have an There is no schwa sound in Spanish at all. Oh my. So getting those vowels really crisp and clear and distinct is super, super important because of the many, many words that change in meaning when you change a vowel somewhere. And there are lots of words in Spanish that can get mixed up with other words because of one vowel sound. It sounds kind of picky, doesn't it? But it kind of makes us think about the importance of getting those vowels really, really exact. Yeah.
The consonants in beber and beber are the same, right?
The sounds, the consonants are different. The sounds those consonants produce are the same.
Whether it's a B or a V word.
Vivir, beber. Vivir, beber. Vivir, beber.
So we have to say the vowels right.
Yeah. The B is softer, but they'll both sound like a B. Okay. Both sound like a B, not a V. V in English is a lot of tooth on lip action, and that does not happen in Spanish. If you want to get picky, and you do want to get picky. See, you want to get it as close to, vivir, vivir, vivir. Okay, bien, magnífico. Algo más? Is there another little recuerdo item, a little memory item anybody would like to share? Sí, okay, bueno, sí, Kathy.
Can I talk more?
Dinos algo.
Este recuerdo es una taza que me recuerda de un viaje a Washington, D.C. en el año 1995, 1995.
Okay.
Visité edificios gubernamentales. Este recuerdo es de mi visita al edificio de Congreso. Es un edificio magnífico y muy grande.
me perdí y me encontré en la lavandería en el sótano. I got lost and found myself in the laundry room in the basement.
En el sótano. Oh,
It's a
down in the
big
basement.
building.
Ay, ay. Me perdí. I got lost.
Yes.
Me perdí. Me perdí. Bien.
So,
Sí.
um,
Me gusta mucho Washington, aunque no me gusta el clima en el verano, pero como ciudad es muy interesante.
Okay. Es palabras, estas palabras son, están, son.
Son, they are.
United States Congress. So me recuerdo de mi perdí experiencia.
Sí. Te recuerda a la vez que te perdiste. It reminds you of the time you got lost. Sí. Te recuerda a la vez que te perdiste. Muy bien. Ok. Muy entretenido. That is an entertaining one. Sí, que te perdiste. Pero hay muchos edificios muy grandes en la capital, ¿no? Lugares donde todos los turistas visitan los edificios, los monumentos. Hay muchos monumentos, sí. Es impresionante. Bueno, a ver, ¿alguien más? Anybody else got some little tidbit to share? ¿Sí o no? ¿Sí o no? ¿No? Ok. Ok. Vale, magnífico. Vamos a continuar. We're going to continue. So just like we have me recuerda, me, it reminds, or to me, it brings to mind. Oh, that's the way we should think of it. To me, it brings to mind. Me recuerda. To me, it brings to mind. We have this oddball verb called quedar, which often behaves in that same way, but not always. Oh, shoot. And therein lies the problem, in that quedar has many, many meanings. So why are we looking at quedar? We're looking at quedar because it confuses the heck out of people. And yet, wow, in a normal conversation, you'll often hear this verb quedar used a lot. So I'm going to replay just a few snippets of this because, porque vale la pena, because it's worth the effort. Vale la pena. But I'm going to pause it because she does talk fast. And so I am going to pause it in a few areas, and we're going to answer your little questions. We won't play the full thing.
Kind of have the same gist if you think about it deeply and profoundly. It's kind
And there is where that little thing, it es la clave. That's the key. If you think about this word deeply and profoundly, I kid you not, in a philosophical way, I personally don't like to do, but in this case, it's super helpful. If you think of this word deeply and profoundly and let it just be what it is, you start to see why it is used in so many situations. Okay.
kind of like the verb get in English.
How many things does get mean in English? Get lost. Oh, and then there's get lost versus get lost.
Get me.
Versus, yeah, get lost, get money, get help.
Do you get it?
Do you get it? He doesn't get it. Yeah. Get takes on many, many, many meanings. So that's how you should think of quedar, but think of down to the root, down to its root. Quedar means that something exists kind of exists somewhere. It is left over from something. So we're going to just kind of look at some of
We are
these.
talking about quedar.
And notice she doesn't say quedar. She says quedar, quedar. That little D is going to sound more like a TH, quedar, quedar, quedar. Now, if you say quedar, quedar with a D, will they understand you? Yes, they will. You know, you got your mistakes that are the, I don't know what you said, pobre gringo, and you've got your mistakes that are NBD, no big deal, okay? And that D is kind of a no big deal. People know, oh yeah, okay, quedar, but quedar sounds so much nicer, quedar.
Here are just a few sample sentences that include the verb quedar. Solo nos quedan 10 minutos.
Oh, and I gotta stop her because she goes very fast. So here's how we should look at this video once more. Solo nos quedan 10 minutos. Only to us remain 10 minutes. Good Lord. We got word order junk going on. We got a nos, which you think, nos, it's reflexive. Oh, shoot. No, it's not, because nos quedamos is reflexive, but nos quedan is not. So just because somebody uses the word nos doesn't mean something is reflexive. Just because somebody uses the word me does not automatically mean it is reflexive, right? Reflexive means a nos matches up with a nosotros verb. That me matches up with a yo type verb. That te matches up with a tú type verb. That se matches up with either an él or an ella or an ellos, ellas, ustedes verb, okay? But so that little nos is not necessarily reflexive. What that says in its exact meaning is only to us they remain 10 minutes. But that is the word order. We say it, we have 10 minutes left. And they don't use the word have. This is much more common than we have 10 minutes. Oh, you could hear somebody say, tenemos 10 minutos más. Okay, you could, but this is ever so very typical. Solo nos que, or just they might leave off the word solo. Solo means only. So they might drop the word solo. Nos quedan 10 minutos. We have 10 minutes left. The solo is just the only part. But it must be in that order, Juanita.
So the quedan is conjugated for the plural minutes.
Minutos.
If you only had
Yes.
1 minute, it would be queda, uno.
If we only have 1 minute, solo nos queda un minuto. Solo nos queda un, o por ejemplo, es posible decir, solo nos queda una hora. Solo nos queda una hora.
Hora, okay.
Okay. Think of this like gustar.
Yeah.
It is just like gustar. The thing that is left over, that's how you conjugate quedar. So we look at, minutos, that's the thing I've got left. Minutos, plural, quedan. Okay, bien? Kathleen.
Yeah,
So-
if you wanted to say me,
Oh, sorry.
me, Caden?
Me?
Yeah, if I have 10 minutes.
Never me, me.
Me, M-E.
Yeah, we cannot use me. Me, M-I, means my. So, mi plato, mi libro, mis otros audífonos para escuchar, ¿sí? Mi copa de vino, mi botella, mi botella. Me means something is in my, is something belongs to me. I own something. Me relates to me, the person. Me relates to me, the person, but they're used differently. Me is a possessive. It shows who owns something. And me means something happens to me. Me means that something happens to me and I get that action. And what is it that I have? I have time left over. It's left over to me. That
So
makes
it's the
sense?
indirect object? Is it?
It's an, exacto. It is an indirect object pronoun.
Okay.
To me, this is left over. Yeah. Or to me, these things are left over. So that's why we're stopping these down and breaking them down, because you got a bunch of things going on here. You've got a nos, but it doesn't have a nosotros verb. You've got a word order that is like totally reversed of what you're used to in English. Or we, in this case, she uses we have 10 minutes left over. Oh, we might drop the over in English, right? We have 10 minutes left. Yeah, okay, we have 10 minutes left over. We have 10 minutes left. There are all kinds of funky things we do in English, but nos quedan 10 minutos, nos quedan 10 minutos. Think of it as if it were gustar. That will tell the conjugation. Sí, Juanita.
So then you could say something like, me queda una hora. I only have an hour.
Me
But
queda
what-
una hora.
So if you said yo quedo,
Well, am I left over from something?
no, well, I
Oh.
guess you'd have to get the rest of the sentence.
You would.
to figure out what me quedo, because quedar could mean a ton of things.
Exacto. Okay, so look, if I were a teenager in gym class and they were picking people for their team and I'm the only one left, I am the uncoordinated person nobody wants on the team. Yeah, the last one left over. Oh, solo quedo yo. Only I remain would make perfect sense. If everybody else took the 5 o'clock metro, y tonta yo and dummy me thought that the metro left at 5:20 and I got there late. Me quedo aquí. Wow, here I am. I'm the only one here. Yeah. Quedar gets a kind of a lonely kind of feeling to it at times. Yeah, it can. Okay. Bien? Yeah. This requires some thought. Let's.
Hemos quedado para mañana.
Okay. And here she's getting into a harder one. Hemos quedado. We have agreed. Okay. We've agreed to meet. Quedar can mean to meet. We're not going to explore this one yet today. Hemos quedado para mañana means we've agreed on getting together tomorrow. And the para mañana tells us a deadline. Oh, this is the designated date. We're not going to explore that one yet because it's a bit
Ya
too
no
much.
queda leche.
This one is super, super common. Ya no queda leche. And this is, I'm just not telling who it's left over to. I could, but I don't have to. Ya no queda leche. There's no milk left. I could say, ya no me queda leche. I don't have any milk left. Yeah. If I were in a restaurant serving people, I could say, ya no nos queda leche. The whole restaurant, we don't have any milk left. Yeah. But so, you may hear a me, te, nos before the queda. And if it's just something that's left over, you may not use a me, te, nos, le, maybe not. Ya no queda leche, no milk left. And we're not really talking about to whom. But
Marilyn, before you go, why do they use ya? This just, that word is everywhere. People
That
use
word
it
is
all the
everywhere.
time and I can't
That
figure
is
out.
queda.
Ja is
Why not
also
no queda
everywhere.
leche?
Ja is also everywhere. Ya no. So, okay, look at that word and don't think of it as just ya. but think of
Okay.
it as ya no, ya
Okay.
no. Ya no, it carries the idea of no longer.
Okay.
Ya no, that specific combination, because ya by itself is something else, about probably 5 different things, right? Somebody might just say, yeah. Yeah. And you get it from their attitude, right? Ya, now, ya, now.
Okay.
Ya is like ahora, now. It can be, but
Okay.
ya no is no longer. Ya no queda leche. No longer remains any milk. That's literally what you're saying. Ya no queda leche. No longer remains any milk.
I have a question.
But we would
I
never
would say-
phrase it that way in English. In English, it would sound weird.
Mm. I
Right?
was in a restaurant with a friend who's Mexican, and the wait staff asked her in Spanish if she was done, and she said, "Ya terminé."
Ya-
Ya terminé.
ya terminé. I just finished up.
Oh, okay.
Ya terminé. I just now
wanted to
I
explore.
just now finished. Ya terminé. I just now finished.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sí, eso es. So, yes, ya. Sí, ya tiene mucho sentido. Ya has many, many meanings as well. Bueno, Patricia.
Oh, I was just wondering, it doesn't necessarily mean more emphasis then.
No.
It just means more no longer, or now I
Yeah,
don't.
ya know
doesn't
that
mean
combination.
I don't have any. That's not.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not like
yeah.
that.
Somebody could just say no queda leche.
Okay.
Ya no queda leche. No longer is there any, don't have any of that now.
Okay, it means now more than emphasis.
Yeah, that's all. Eso es. Okay.
Thank you.
Siempre quedará la duda.
There will always be doubt. And here, there will probably always be doubt. That quedará is a future. We're not going to get
El
into
hotel
that.
queda muy lejos.
Muy común. We are going to do this one. El hotel queda muy lejos. The hotel is really far off. It's far away. Okay. Queda is very, very, very often used as a synonym and equal meaning to está, location. Often. Okay, especially when you're a tourist. Queda, when somebody says, oh, queda ya, it's over there. It's a synonym, exactly interchangeable with está. Totally the same thing. Okay.
¿Te quedas o te vas?
Here's a reflexive. Are you staying or are you leaving? That's probably said at a workplace or not really in a travel sense, right? That could be said at an office. It could be said at a restaurant when you're like about to finish up a meal. Te quedas o te vas? You're going to stay, you're going to go. At the bar. Yeah. So quedarse is to stay in a place, which is related to that idea of estar being used for, or I'm sorry, of queda being used as an equivalent for estar. So those are kind of related ideas there.
Se quedó ciego.
Okay, this one we're not going to practice. Se quedó ciego, he went blind. This is used in certain senses when we talk about a physical change or an emotional change where somebody is left that way forever, as a result of an accident, somebody went blind, or as a consequence of a disease that progressed to a certain level, he went blind, and that means the sight is not coming back. Okay, you hear se quedó calvo. He went bald. That hair is not coming back. There we go. So it's used with certain physical changes that are permanent in nature.
Has quedado muy bien regalándole flores.
Made a good impression. We're not going to practice that one because look at all these different meanings we've got already.
Quedan pocos días para la Navidad.
And this is the same thing as the first one you had, except we don't have a me or a nos or anything. Quedan pocos días. Only a few days are left until Christmas. Para here, para is that destination idea. Only a few days left till Christmas. Okay, they remain. And quedar.
¿Quién se ha quedado mi lápiz?
Yeah, who took off with my pencil? We're not going to practice that one yet either. Oh, this one is very, very common. How clothing fits.
Quedó el saco.
No me quedó el saco. Saco here does not mean a sack, like a bag. Saco is often used, and she goes, oh, the Talking Heads thing. Yeah, I remember that concert. Okay. El saco, a jacket. Okay, a men's jacket, a blazer, essentially. Me quedó. No me quedó. It didn't hang well on me. Yes, kind of the meaning behind that, right? When we talk about clothing fitting, we really, really often use quedar.
Today we will.
Okay, so there is the whole kind of preview of all the different things that quedar can do. We're going to take a quick look here. A ver. Quedar and quedarse. Quedar can be a substitute for estar, or talk about things being left over, left behind, sort of, yeah. El museo queda muy cerca. Museum is very close. No queda leche, or no me queda leche. If it's, yeah, there's no milk left. If I want to specifically say I haven't got this thing, I may put in that word me, or I can omit the me, right? No me queda leche. I haven't got any left, right? No quedan camarones. There are no shrimp left. Like, oh, I know they're on the menu, but we ran out. We haven't got any left. So if a waiter says to you, no quedan camarones, they're saying no shrimp left. They were all purchased. They've been used up. They've been used up. It's this idea of being left over, right? Or in a negative sense, no quedan, they're not left over. Nos queda media hora. A half hour is left to us. Okay? I'm going to point out one extra thing with this last one. I would change this slightly if I change media hora to 30 minutes. There's a really fine line here. Nos quedan 30 minutos. We have 30 minutes, plural, left. And because this is minutes, right? We've got to have a quedan compared to media hora, which is a singular noun, therefore queda. You see that how that clicks in there? It's just like gustar. It's just like gustar. Okay. Bien. Quedar can talk about being left in a certain state. It can mean to agree on something, close to fit, or things that match up, like they go together well. Se quedó embarazada. Somebody was left pregnant. Yeah, that's a pretty permanent kind of thing. Yeah, well, not, yeah. Somebody got knocked up. There we go. Se quedó embarazada. Well, yeah, it turns out she was left pregnant by that experience. Yeah, okay. But you get the idea. Ciego, I can't change that situation. Embarazada, kind of hard to change that situation. Calvo, bald, kind of hard to change that situation. Yeah, that's when they use that. Me quedo con la pluma. I got this left over. We're not going to practice that one tonight. Quedar con can mean to meet up with a person. Quedar con. Quedar en means to agree on something. We'll have a little bit of that. ¿En qué quedamos? Quedamos en salir temprano. What did we agree to? Oh, we agreed to leave early. Bien. Esos pantalones no me quedan bien. These pants don't fit me well. Los zapatos me quedan mal con el vestido. The shoes don't match up with the dress. Yeah, match up. They don't go with that. Okay. But quedarse, cuidado, quedarse is to be left over, but to be left in a place. Quedarse, if it is reflexive, means to stay in a place. And that might be stay. It might be a short while. It might be a super long permanent time. There is no real distinction in how long. Nos quedamos en un hotel de lujo. Right? That's staying in we stayed in a luxury hotel. Me quedo en casa, I'm staying at home. Me quedo en casa, I'm staying at my home. So those are the basic ideas here. And Juanita pulled up a nice little PDF. So I'm going to make sure I include that as a share in the email. Quedar can mean to arrange to meet or to meet up with a person. Quedar can mean to agree to do something. Quedar can mean something is left. And we're going to really focus on that one a lot, guys. Quedar can mean to fit, to be suited, to match up nicely. Quedar can mean to leave an impression. We won't practice that one tonight. Quedar can mean to be located. Out of all these, I would say the located one is super important for you guys for right now. The leftover for you guys is super important right now. The stay, you know, those three are really kind of important. So let's take a look at our, oh, wow. Interesting. To make documents large, I go one direction. To make pictures large, I have to go a different one. Let's take a look at this. We're going to try to kind of finish up some ideas or express some ideas. We're going to do this in some small group work. Wow, it took too long. That's okay.
Yeah.
We're probably only going to get to about 5 of these. If we got 10, let's see. Nos quedan 10. We're going to have, we're going to do the first 5 in a small group. So let's try the first 5. Okay. Something you might say después de pagar las facturas, after paying the bills. And I want this to be open. I've got whatever money left over after paying bills. I want you to try that. We're going to look at the first 5. Pagué $24 por las entradas al cine. I paid $24 for the tickets to get into the movies. Okay. I want you to talk about what you have left over to buy food. Okay, from that $24. Talk about how many, pick a food item you have. Talk about anything you've got left in the fridge. You got 1 of something left over, you got 5 of something left over, you got a dozen of something left over, you know, whatever you've got. Talk about how much time we have left in class tonight. And a la 1 de la tarde, 1 p.m., not 1 a.m., 1 p.m., a la 1 de la tarde, solo. Talk about how much time we have left to work if it's 1 p.m. Yeah. So I want you to work on those 5 because that's realistic with the time we have left. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. This is kind of a free-for-all, but I want you to use quedar in some way with that. I think I'm going to try to put you in groups mostly of 3. I'm going to move one of you over because, okay, vale, a couple of you with 2s. Okay, I'm going to give you some time to practice that and then we're going to come back. And we're probably going to continue this into next week, but we're going to do the first 5. See? Aquí vamos. Here we go. And you'll need to hit your join button. Nos queda un minuto, nos queda un minuto. Todos van a regresar al salón principal dentro de un minuto. Ah, bien. Okay, and it muted you. So Pat,
Yeah,
if you've got a
unmute.
question, go ahead.
We had a question. We sort of went ahead and looked at 6 and 7 and 8. When you're staying
okay.
somewhere, when you're
Uh-huh.
staying, that's reflexive. Do you conjugate the verb? Like, is it me
Or
quedo?
who does it? Me quedo.
Me quedo.
Me
And then
quedo.
nos quedamos then for this, if it's we are staying.
Right.
Okay.
And we're going to do, we will finish up the last half of that, but I'm going to work some new things in to let you go back in and look at that again throughout the week. This is kind of a big topic.
Yeah, it's a little confusing
It
because.
is a little confusing. It
because
is.
You know, when they put the may in there, is it the object or is it the reflexive thing, you know, and that's what I'm
Well,
trying to. now I
Right.
think-
You got to be listening for the next word.
Okay.
We
Okay.
have another question on
Sí,
the
sí,
first-
dime.
on the first one and the second one. Do you put a Y before me quedan? You know, pagué por las entradas al cine y me quedan $2 para
Oh.
entrar, or is it just?
Oh,
me
así me quedan. So I've got this left over. Yeah, así can be a so to lead
No, but
in.
what about a Y? E, like and.
Y me queda, sí. Pagué, por ejemplo. And I'll put the share screen up so that we can see these questions. Wow. Because it helps for most of us to visually see this. Kathleen is asking about, me preguntó sobre el número 2. Sí, pagué $24 por las entradas al cine. Bueno, ok. Entonces, me quedan $6. Y ahora, ya me quedan solo $6 para comer. Y ya me quedan $6 para comer. And now I've just got $6 left to eat.
All right.
Por ejemplo. ¿Sí?
And you need the ya, like you wouldn't just
No,
say.
you
"Y
don't
me
need the
quedan."
ya, no. Y
Sí,
me
sí,
quedan.
sí.
Y me quedan 6. Yeah, right, sí. Y me quedan $6. Y me quedan $10. Y me quedan $15 para comer algo. Bien.
Marilyn, would it be correct to group in our heads, my head, if you're talking about something being left and you're using kedar, it's conjugated for the object or the thing that's left. So it's either keda or kedan. It's like the
Yes.
star.
Sí, but don't think of it as the object because that's what will mess you up. The object is the me.
Oh, I mean, think of it as the thing that's being
The
left.
thing that is
physical
left over determines whether I use queda
Mhm.
or quedan. Now, theoretically, like that example I used of, oh, they picked everybody for teams in the junior high, volleyball game, and I'm the only person left over. Theoretically, it could be a quedo, but in most conversation, in what people usually say, it's going to be a me queda, it's left for me, and it's only this many things. Or me quedan, because I've got maybe this many bucks left, this many bucks left, this many bucks left, right? You know? So it's usually going to be queda or quedan, just like it's gusta or gustan. So you should think of when it's a leftover idea that Quedar is no different than gustar,
Mhm.
no different. The thing that is liked, the thing that is left over determines if it's queda
Mhm.
or quedan. And the me just tells who's got it.
Sorry.
That's all. Right? It could
Yeah,
be nos, it could be nos queda. It's left to us.
We have it left, but the
Yeah.
note is referring to who. The Kden means you have more than one thing left over, and the Keda means you got one thing for we.
Queda means one item is left over. Quedan means a bunch of items, something plural is left over.
Okay.
Okay, but can't you say, like, we have 9 of whatever, quedamos 9? Or do you have to, no?
No, not quedamos. Because quedamos would mean we are left over and we are not those
Ah.
things in the fridge. Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so, por ejemplo, nos quedan 9 botellas de agua. 9 water bottles are left over for us, are left. Okay, we have 9 bottles left. Nos quedan 9 botellas. Nos
Okay, so-
quedan.
In number 5, when you talk about how much time we have left, is that still going to be nos queda?
It's
It'll
single.
depend on how much time you've got left. What's the amount of time you've got left?
Well, I said 4 hours, but
Okay, 4 hours. It's more than 1 hour, right?
right.
It's quedan.
Okay, so the next question then is horas de trabajar, horas en trabajar. What is the preposition you need to talk about how much of
okay.
work you have left? Or to
Horas
work,
de,
or
horas de trabajo, probably. Horas de trabajo, work hours. Yeah, horas de trabajo. Or might be horas de trabajar, could be. De.
well, when I made my sentence and then I typed it into Spanish Dict to see how it translated back to me, you know, horas de trabajar said a time, you know, hours of work. But I was thinking more like hours to work, hours, how much time is left? We have not,
Trabajar.
it's not that we have 4 hours of work left. Maybe it's 20 hours of work, but we only have 4 hours in the day.
And
You know,
that'll
it's the work
come out
time.
in the context of what you mean.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, if you've got 20 hours of work left in a project, everybody knows you're not gonna be staying 20 hours straight. They're gonna know from the context.
okay, so
Okay,
you would
and
say de rather than in.
Oh, sí, you would not use en.
Okay,
De trabajar, de trabajar. Sí, 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 Patricia.
And do we put in the nos since we're talking about we have that much left?
You
Is it-
do.
Okay.
Okay, por ejemplo, nos quedan 5 minutos.
Okay.
Or you might use a para too. You might use a para. Sí, nos quedan 5 minutos de trabajo, o de trabajar, or para trabajar. You know, those are kind of interchangeable. But that nos has got to be there if we mean we have that much time left. It's
Okay.
left to us, just like something is pleasing to us, therefore it's gustar, right? Exacto, exactly. When we come back next week, we're going to have examples like what you did in the 5. And we're going to have them set up in some sort of a little game where you figure out which things match up, which ideas match up with. Yeah. So what I will give you will be some Spanish ideas and what, you know, you'll have to match them up with what they mean in English.
Okay.
And it will be presented to you in a game type format.
Okay.
Okay, so that you're picking out ideas. So here's the thing. You're not going to know all of these meanings for quedar right now. No es realístico. That is not realistic, right? The most important ones that I want you to think about are talking about what's left over in your wallet, in your fridge, on your shelf, in your pantry, in your pocket, in your purse, in your car, something that's left over, to talk about quedar for being in a place, equivalent to estar. As a reflexive, staying in a place, whether you're talking about staying at the bar a few more minutes, or I'm staying at this Airbnb, to stay in a place in the sense of lodging, okay, or in the sense of remaining, but see, it still means remain, yeah, remaining in a place, staying at the restaurant a certain more amount of time. Yeah, mainly those big ideas, okay, because they're extremely common. I am going to, and if I were to Google on YouTube this idea of quedar, it will come up with about, I kid you not, 10 to 12 different videos, but I'm going to screen them all, and I'm going to leave you as homework an additional video on quedar, because sometimes you just need to hear somebody else with different examples, with a slightly different way of presenting it, or it's just the pure idea that now you're listening to this explained again in a very slightly different way, and it'll click, the light bulb will go on, but you just need lots of examples. I'm going to pick one or maybe at most two that I think are like primo really good for giving you good examples. So I'm going to give you those. We're going to come back and work that bottom half next week. You're going to have some extra viewing on quedar, and we're going to play a little game with that next week. And I want you to bring in one item for show and tell next week. So it's not going to be un recuerdo. It's not going to be, I want you to take that number 10 off of the prompts, talk about what clothing fits well, and you can change that to even what fits really badly. It can be bien or it can be mal. I want you to bring in something to show this fits great, or this is awful, or maybe these two things don't go together. Yeah. So your choice, anything. I love this thing. It fits great. Okay. And talk about that clothing item. Quedar with clothing, super common. And it's just like gustar. This thing sits on me. Bien, mal, grande, too big. Yeah, apretado, too tight. Yeah, you know. Yeah, so and we use that a lot when we're trying on clothes. When we're playing tourists and we try on clothes, we talk about, oh, this didn't fit, this did fit. This is too big, this is too small. You know, maybe you want somebody to get you a different size. So that clothing bit, bring in some kind of clothing, whether it fits great, too big, too small, whatever, lo que sea. Bring in one little fun item. Bien?
Bien.
Gracias.
Magnifico. Do you want me to push out an extra destinos, or is that too much?
Oh,
Be honest.
I want to see what happens.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
I can't
Okay.
stand it.
I don't think I have to explain a lot about what happened in that episodio, do I? Do you have any last questions before?
I just have one quick question, because let's see. Where did I put it? Okay. Arturo says, mi madre siempre sintió un gran afecto por Ángel. Why would,
My
Why
mother
would-
always felt great affection for Angel.
why preterite? Why sintió? Why would it not be something she felt, not just as a one event, but
Why didn't he use imperfecto?
right.
Because he was
Yeah.
he was emphasizing the fact, he was kind of putting a period on the end of the sentence. She felt great affection for him. She is gone. Lo and behold, she is dead. Yea, these many years. And yeah, he's just being very final about it. She felt great affection for him.
Well, wouldn't you think that she would? He was her son. I mean, that is kind of an odd.
He's expressing a finality to
Okay.
the fact that her life is over and Angel's life is over, and that's all in the past.
Okay.
He is saying it as a part of the past rather than describing really the job of imperfect. So, this is something that is actually kind of an interesting question, because using imperfecto would get into that realm of description. And he's really like putting an end to the chapter of that story. And he's indicating that by using that tense.
Okay.
Sometimes you can give all these rules about these words signal this and these words signal that tense. But if somebody uses a certain tense, they're telling you, honey, it's over.
Well, unless you're me and you just choose the wrong one by mistake.
Right, yeah, we don't know.
He is closing the book on that chapter of his life.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is right, kind of his point. Yeah, okay. Pero es buena pregunta, yeah. But it leaves you the question, he leaves us the tengo dudas. After all this time and all this trouble, he's got the nerve to say, tengo dudas. I'm kind of like, punch this old coot out.
Well, what gets me is he shows up at dinner. Here
All of
it
a
is.
sudden he's
whole
healthy enough and
family,
all
and he gets
dressed.
himself all dressed up, and he comes down, he sits down and says, I don't believe you guys are my.
Well, yeah,
Whoa.
wait a minute. Where have we all been?
Yes.
What is wrong with
me?
Yeah. Now that we've introduced you all as family,
Yeah.
but I guess it perhaps, there will be a question of inheritance coming into this. Oh, yes. So, perhaps in his old codger mind, this whole question of money is perhaps bubbling to the surface.
Well, and
you gotta wonder.
he realizes that he's on his last legs.
He
So
knows he is heading out the door.
He's
poor
wanting to
guy.
resolve this, I
El
guess.
pobre. Yeah.
And he thinks he has money. He doesn't know.
Oh, yeah, true. He
about the
doesn't.
gambling
There's
and
no-
all
That
that.
Gloria's gambling all his hard-earned money
No money
away.
to be
He
divvied
doesn't
up.
know
Yeah.
about the Miami,
Don't tell
sleaze
him about
stuff.
Gloria.
Yeah, so he thinks there's big bucks, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gloria's.
they're talking about turning Lagavia into an orphanage and
Yeah,
bringing
Gloria's
money to
busy.
do it. Yeah.
Gloria's busy frittering away your hard-earned pesos, buddy. Yeah.
yeah, so. And Marilyn, did you say when you talk about clothes to fit and all that, it's still Keda and
Queda
Keda?
or quedan, still that.
Okay, so it's still the same.
So you
Okay.
have some rules of thumb with that. Yeah, you do. You do.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to revise those little queda slides I showed you to kind of try to get that into contrast real clear. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, cool. Cool, yeah, because that makes a lot more sense to try to.
It surely does. It surely does. Yeah. So learn the pattern and look, it's going to be queda or quedan, and then me, te, le is going to tell who it's left over to or who it fits on. Or yeah, right. It's going to be just like Gustav. Bien?
Well, yeah, that makes sense, because then who do you conjugate it for, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because, it's not realistic for us to take all of those quedadas, but it's kind of helpful to hear somebody say, wow, look at all these things that can happen with this verb, because it can be a lot.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we need to distill it into things that you can practice, but we will do a little match it up kind of game that will start to, it starts to crystallize. You just need to see a lot of examples is all.
Yeah.
Eso es todo. Yeah.